Greetings, theists and non-theists. I am the Atheist Paladin. When it comes to looking at the dynamics of atheists and YouTube, it's easier to see two different groups. One that actually likes to group together and calling themselves a community, and then the others that resist everything whatsoever and just hate groups. Lord help them if you ever mention anything about an atheist community or the League of Reason or something, and they just go buck wild. They're just so anti-group. They just go crazy. I mean, usually the criticism they make is that not only the problem of criticism, but you can somehow do whatever goal you're trying to achieve all you're lonesome. I find absurd. You can't do everything by yourself. There's a reason to being in a group. But the part is, groupthink is a legitimate worry, but sometimes it just gets too overblown by these people. And as we all know, the League of Reason is being criticized for various many things now by quite a few people now, and I think we need to start to think about how this group works and how almost any atheist community works. And I think there's certain things we can be aware of that will help minimize groupthink and increase productivity and creativity and things like that. Now, some of the things about League of Reason, I think, are completely valid. Some of the criticisms, but some things, are absurd. Like the name of the League of Reason itself is presumptuous. I mean, what is a group that is all about, skepticism and reasoning and critical thought, and freedom of speech? What are they supposed to name themselves? The League of Knee?
Who are you?
We are the knights who say... Knee!
No, not the knights who say knee.
The same!
Now, that all aside, what are the things we can be, how we can minimize groupthink while maintaining a group? First off, being even aware of this condition is, of course, a big help. When you're influenced by something, you can already know measures, or instinctively take measures that minimize it. But I think there's three things that we should avoid primarily, and things that we should promote within a group. And I think these are good. I mean, they're not probably three reasons, just three reasons on each side, but there's plenty more, I guess. But I think these are have primacy and very good. So the first things, three things that we should avoid. The first one is don't bully. Do not try to use, when it comes to an individual versus group in debating one idea of another, it's of course not a good idea to try to use social pressure or trolling or any of that. Now, I know these things are upheld or are promoted not to happen in the League of Reason and other groups in general, but I think that is something that we should always keep a watch out, because it's easy to draw into complacency, and then you're doing these things without even thinking about it. And I guess I can add don't be complacent into that. But the other one I want to say is when dealing with other ideas, don't mock or ridicule. It's easy to get swept up and try to impose an idea by simply ridiculing it away, and that may be appropriate in other circumstances. But I think when you're trying to make a community, like we do on YouTube. I think we're trying to conform the atheist community or the League of Reason. I think that's very critical when dealing differences of opinions within the group, because, well, creativity is I think is very good, and you're just going to have to tolerate differences of opinion and diversity of thought. And sometimes you may have to tolerate things that are, to you, viewed appear to be very absurd. And I think the third one here is very important, is that don't get emotional. Don't get too involved into these things on an emotional level, because this is really where the groupthink happens. It happens on a primal and emotional level. I have never seen a group that acted under the influences of groupthink and yet behaved completely rationally. It is usually when the emotions get high, either when raging against something, or when they also get high when you get too enthusiastic about something. And when you get enthusiastic about something, you may become less critical of the things that that may be negative to it, and may be detrimental to it, and so you tend to not exercise critical thought. It's good to celebrate things once it's all said and done with, but I think it's better to apply a rational, cool mind beforehand, and then once it's all said and done with, once an objective is achieved, celebrate all you want. But don't ever get too excited, and of course don't ever get too involved emotionally the other way, of course. Now, some of the things that we want to promote in the group is, of course, creativity. And saying, well, just be creative, turns out it has an opposite effect, as research shows, it tends to make people less creative. And so when wanting to people be creative, I think the best solution is asking them what unique things they can bring of themselves to the group and contribute it to the group or to the project of whatever. And the research shows that this style question actually does better in creativity. So not only I think it helps involvement in the group, it now begins to focus on yourself and your place in it, and which is my second point. When you're focusing your roles and your goals, your own personal roles and goals in the group, you start becoming accountable. You become accountable for now what happens and what you do when you're active in that group. Because when you do that, you're no longer just a drone or a cog or a minion of this nebulous group. You're now an active, engaging agent within it. You're now using your mind, and you're now acting rationally, which brings me to my third point. Always, when it comes to acting in the group and acting within how the group functions, or the decision of whether to do something or not within the group, don't always accept it enthusiastically. Always examine it from all sides possible. Be the devil's advocate and be the angel's advocate, and work out all the arguments for it for yourself first, before you finally decide to commit to it or not. Now, this I think is the hardest thing, because it's asking you not to do everything automatically, and it's easier sometimes to defer your own will to the opinions of other people. We depend on scientists, to figure things out, and sometimes, being a part of a group, sometimes you may, instead of engaging rationally within the group, sometimes you may just simply defer for the ease of use. And I think that's another thing that what makes groupthink attractive within it, because you're now becoming, you just sort of go on autopilot, and So with bionic gnats, don't run on them about it. Think for once. And I think if we take all these things into account, I think we can minimize groupthink that happens within a group, as well as maximizing creativity and involvement. So tell me what you think. Tell me what ideas do you have? Video responses, comments of how you can minimize groupthink or creativity. I want to hear your thoughts. So what do you have to say about it? So remember, folks, rationality leads to the path of righteousness.